Hello, hello. Big warm welcome to this conversation about why we have so much trouble in life, why we have so many problems, and why so many of the solutions in the world don't actually solve those problems. All they do is kick the can down the road or settle it over here, only for it to come up again over here, another time, another place, another context, another person, but still fundamentally that same problem going round and round and round. So today I'm going to be sharing with you a metaphor which is really close to my heart because it's been in my world since 2020 and it has evolved and evolved and evolved through that time as my journey has grown, as my exploration has deepened, as I've got to the root of what was going on and causing the problems in my life. And so that metaphor, that visual has transformed as I've got clearer and clearer on what's actually causing the problems in me, for me, in my life. And of course, now, having done all of that and spent that decade and almost 70 grand on that work, I am now so happy to share it with you because it means you get to do what I did, but in a much shortcutted way. You save yourself years, you save yourself tens of thousands of pounds or dollars or whatever currency you're choosing to invest in yourself with. But fundamentally, this is a shortcut. This is getting you to something which, if my journey hadn't been as perfect as it has been, which is absolutely right for me, given the job I do, if I was in a different role, if I was a leader in a business, if I was creating new businesses, if I was an entrepreneur, birthing new businesses all the time and generating investment and recreating and rebuilding, I know that I would want to focus my time and attention on that, on building and creating awesome businesses. And I wouldn't want to do what I've done, which is investing all that time in the exploration of a person and their inner experience. That was absolutely my job to do. It is my job, it has been my job, the work of my lifetime to understand what the blocks and barriers and limitations were in me, to go on this 10-year journey of all sorts of different ways that we try and use to feel better, to discover what was truly at the root of it all. That was my journey because that's my expertise. When your expertise is running a business, growing businesses, selling businesses, then your expertise is not to do what I did. And my job, therefore, is to come to you with the shortcut. It's to come to you with, I've done all of this so you don't have to. I have done this deep dive so you don't have to. You get to go straight to the best solution that there is on the market. As far as I've seen, there is nothing else like this. If you find something else, please do tell me. I'm always open and interested to hear that. But as far as I've seen, nothing else is as fast, as precise, as effective, or as permanent as the work that I do now with the Mace Energy Method. As I say, if you find something else, please tell me. But from all the evidence I've got, from everything I've experienced, everything I've explored, this is the fastest, is the most effective. So I'm going to be sharing today the context for that, why we have troubles as humans, why life feels hard, and then on the back of the solution that I'm offering of the Mace Energy Method, why things therefore kind of inevitably, obviously, get easier. So when you're ready, let's jump in and start exploring through this visual metaphor of mine. As I say, I created it a long time ago, back in 2020, and it is still doing me so proud. So let me choose the right screen. Here we go. So this is my river. It's been called the river of experience for a long time. And really because it encapsulates our human experience so brilliantly. As I say, the details have evolved, my understanding of it has evolved, the language I'm using around it has evolved, but fundamentally it has always perfectly described our experience of life. Let me first start with how we think our experience is created. So, if we consider this river and start at the bottom here in the world, in the normal understanding of the world, we believe that if the world is a certain way, then I will be okay. If I can make that decision, if I can get that partner, if I can buy that house, if I can get my finances in order, if I can make more money, if I can buy that new car, if I can get my kids to behave, then I will feel okay. It's actually the opposite way round. You'll know that if, and this is the best thing about being successful and making more money, so you'll know this for sure. If you have grown and developed and expanded your personal wealth, your business wealth, you've achieved and achieved and achieved in a either in a learning capability perspective, in a business growth perspective, in a personal development perspective, you will have had the experience of going to a next level that you thought was going to help you feel better, only to find it didn't actually help, didn't actually solve the problem. It's why successful people get to their ideal goal, what they thought they wanted, and realize it's not what they thought it was. They realize, oh, it hasn't actually delivered. It hasn't actually given me what I thought it was going to give me. I don't feel happier. There was maybe a temporary lift, and then, oh, now I'm back to how I was feeling before. I still feel lack. I still feel not enough. I still feel like I'm not good enough. I still feel frustrated with the kids. I still get defensive in meetings. I still react against people who challenge me. I still have self-doubt at 3 a.m. in the morning when I wake up and thoughts are spinning round. All of these experiences remain no matter how much money you have, no matter how big your business is, no matter how supposedly you're perfect your family looks from the outside, no matter how gorgeous your car is, and there are gorgeous cars out there, all of that cannot change how you feel on the inside when what's on the inside is more hidden than that, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about here. So, as I say, most of the world thinks if I can get the outside right, then I'll feel better on the inside. It's the biggest misconception going. Because the truth is, when you feel good on the outside, the world looks better and you have a whole different experience. So hence why here on the picture where we're saying the world, you experience the world as a function of who you are being in the moment. So if you're in the feeling of lack and doubt and not enough, you're going to look out on the world and say, oh, I should build more, I should grow more, I should have more, I should be achieving more. Oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not there yet. Why are they doing so much better? Because you're seeing the world as a function of who you are in that moment. When you're at your best, you look out on the world and you're like, oh my God, I have achieved so much. I'm so proud of myself. My growth has been phenomenal. My personal growth has been phenomenal over this last 2, 5, 10 years. I'm so proud of my family and what they're doing and achieving and creating for themselves. I am so honored and delighted and lit up by this beautiful house I get to live in and by this gorgeous car I get to drive every day. And I delight in just sitting and being and observing the trees moving and the cat playing and I don't know, the leaves swirling in the wind. It's all a function of who you're being in that moment. It's not about the world making you feel something. You have to feel good on the inside first. And that's the premise of all of this. Because the truth of it is that you, coming to the top of the river here, you, as you naturally are a perfect, unique expression of being a person. being a human. You were absolutely perfectly designed. There was never any problem with you. Think of it when a baby is born. Do you look at a baby, anybody's baby, whether it's yours or somebody else's, do you look at a baby and go, oh, they could have tried harder? Mm, I'm not really sure they're worthy of good things. Do you look at a baby and go, oh gosh, they're not enough, are they? They're a bit of a disappointment. No. We look at a baby with awe and wonder and we're like, oh my God, what a delight of creation that is. What an incredible being that's just come into the world, absolutely perfect, absolutely unique. Oh my goodness, we're full of hopes and dreams for those babies. We're full of the sense of possibility. Wow, who is this that we're meeting? Who might they be as they get older? What might they do for good in the world? That's the kind of feeling we get from babies, because that's the truth of who we are too. That's still the truth of who you are. You are still a perfect, unique expression as a human being. It's still true. It's still true. It's still true. That never changed. From when you were born until right now, that has never changed. That has always been the truth. And as a human being, as we continue down the stream here, we're kind of coming more and more into the human experience. So, as a perfect human being, you naturally experience emotions. There is a natural flow of happiness and sadness, of delight and tears. Babies, little kids, especially pre 18 months, these pure expressions of moving through life, doing this painting, playing with that toy, giggling at somebody who's pulling funny faces at them, and then, yeah, crying when they hurt themselves, crying when they're hungry, sad when they want their nappy changing. That's the natural flow of human emotion. We are naturally designed to be happy and to be sad, to be excited and sometimes feel disappointment if what we hoped for didn't happen, to feel warmth and love in connection with another, and to feel warmth and love when we're on our own, each having its place. Also, the possibility of desiring to be with somebody else, not because we need to, because we want to. A baby loves to be held by mum, dad, other people, not because they need it, not because they feel they're lacking. It's just delightful to have that warmth and connection with another person. All of those are our natural state. That all holds true of who we are in our natural state. And of course, that's unique for everybody. Again, if you've been around babies, you'll maybe have met babies who love being cuddled and held, and other babies who don't love it so much. You have babies who love having faces pulled at them, and other babies who love having, I don't know, their favorite toy shaken above the head or playing peekaboo. We are all unique, but we fundamentally enjoy all the same natural flow of emotions. It's all part of the process, it's all part of being human. There's nothing wrong with our emotions. But what happens in life is life brings us upsets. Life brings us experiences that are overwhelming. Life brings us experiences that unfortunately are sometimes traumatic. Even the slightest thing of one moment having that toy being played peekaboo with you, the next moment there's a loud door, a loud noise as a door slams, bang. That could be enough in that moment for that baby to experience a moment of upset, overwhelm, or trauma. We don't have to have experienced significant, what we think of as traumatic experiences. They do definitely exist in the world, and it's heartbreaking the fact that that's true. But even if you think I've had a good upbringing, I've had a good, stable family home. That doesn't exclude you from having had experiences that felt traumatic to you in the moment, even if the world might not count it as trauma. If it felt traumatic to you in the moment, it felt traumatic to you in the moment. There's nobody else can choose that. Nobody else gets to dictate that. It's just how it is. And in those moments, what happened was we unknowingly created negative identities. So in those moments, we unknowingly made decisions about ourselves and we unknowingly resisted a feeling, or more accurately from this, we resisted an emotion. We naturally said, "Oh my God, that's horrible. I don't want to feel that again." We pushed it away. We made a decision about us as a person. I am not deserving. I am not allowed to be happy. I am unsafe. I am unlovable. I am not good enough. All these negative beliefs, which everybody thinks are just beliefs, or the vast majority of the world think are just limiting beliefs. I did. I thought that at the beginning of my coaching journey. When I first trained to be a coach, I thought it's just a limiting belief. If I can just reframe this limiting belief, then I'll be okay. It wasn't enough because it wasn't just a limiting belief. It was a decision I unknowingly made about myself that I decided was true in that moment, but which, because all of that felt so horrible, I then buried it all away. I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to look at that. I didn't want to acknowledge that as true. It was just all too upsetting, all too much. Let's just bury all of that away. And so these negative identities have sat there in our subconscious, but not benign, not quietly, not innocently, not like burying them away was never a permanent solution. Same as sweeping difficult stuff. Let's use an unpleasant word, but it's, it's like sweeping stuff under the carpet. When we bury things away in our psyche, in our subconscious, we've swept things under the carpet. That doesn't get rid of them. And the more you sweep things under the carpet, the bigger the pile grows in the middle of the room, which is why we get to midlife. And usually the pile in the middle of the room has gotten so big that we cannot keep navigating life with all that stuff that we've swept under the carpet. Because what happens from that point onwards, having made that decision about ourselves, unknowingly created that negative identity, we then unknowingly keep adding to it. We gather more evidence to prove that decision was true. Oh, look, more evidence I'm not good enough, more evidence I'm not good enough. Then we add more stories to it and more experiences to it. And then we, in doing so, give these identities more and more energy. We've unknowingly kept fueling them, kept feeding them energy. And so they've continued and continued and continued, repeating, 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 same patterns playing out again and again, which we've innocently taken as, oh God, there's more evidence that I'm not good enough. But in fact, all we were doing was reinforcing an untrue decision in the first place. All of this happening beyond our conscious awareness, all of it happening subconsciously, all of it happening under the surface, all of it happening under the carpet, swept under the rug. And so that's where these whirlpools come in. These are these negative identities, unknowingly created, then buried away at these times of emotional upset, overwhelm, or trauma. And so each of these negative identities, if each whirlpool represents a negative identity, contained within that whirlpool are a collection of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So think about it in the positive respect. You're trained or you've taught yourself to do a job, right? So when you do your job, do you notice how you become a different kind of person than perhaps the kind of person you are with your partner, or the person you are with your kids, or the person you are with your best mate? Notice how there's a work you. That's not wrong. It's a positive identity. I'm choosing to be this person. You have chosen to be this person, and you have learnt the stuff and done the stuff to develop the thoughts, the feelings, the behaviors of the kind of person who does this kind of work. You have developed a positive identity around your work so that when you step into the work context, you show up as a different kind of person. And then with your spouse, if you have a good relationship, you show up as a different positive identity with your spouse. With your kids, if you feel like parenting is a positive role for you, and it's not for everybody, so just, and not right and wrong, just making that distinction. If parenting is a positive experience for you, you step into positive parent identity when you're with your kids. These are all conscious choices. They're all things that we've chosen to do, chosen to become. We've chosen to take on these positive identities. We've learnt the skills, we've done the steps, we've taken the action in order to create these positive identities. With the negative identities, unknowingly created, unknowingly there in the background, which we've unknowingly been feeding more evidence and more energy, they are also comprised of thoughts, feelings, behaviors. It's just that these ones are negative because these ones begin from a negative decision or a resistance to a feeling. So it begins from negativity. So if it was this decision, I am not good enough, which comes with a feeling of, let's say, upset, then every single time something happens that triggers and activates that negative identity out from under the carpet, instantly you take on that persona. Instantly you take on that negative identity. And therefore, all the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that come with that package deal are in motion. Same as when you step into your positive work identity, all those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are right there. And so too, when a negative identity is triggered, that one that you didn't consciously choose to create, it's been hidden in the background, but once it's activated, there it is. All the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are right there with it. And hence, we start behaving in ways that we know deep down isn't really who we are. Like we know it's out of alignment. We know it's not authentic. We know it's not in integrity with who we are. And yet we find ourselves reacting. We find ourselves being defensive. We find ourselves being pushy or demanding. We find ourselves holding back and censoring what we say. We find ourselves walking on eggshells, afraid of triggering somebody else. We find ourselves feeling doubt and uncertainty and questioning and second guessing. These are all the traits of a negative identity being activated and brought to life in that moment because they come as a package deal. The minute one of those whirlpools is activated, each one representing a negative identity, there it all is. The thoughts, the feelings, the behaviors, all of it right there. And now, given what I said at the beginning about the world being a function of who you are being in that moment, in the activation of one of these negative identities, you're now in that whirlpool of those negative thoughts and feelings and behaviors, and it really feels like who you are, and it feels like there's nothing you can do to change it. Now, the world shows up as a function of that because that's the only way it works. Like there is no other way this human experience works. So it's the only way the world can show up in that moment. When you're lost in that whirlpool, people tend to use those words. I feel lost in this. I feel caught up in this. It feels like it's not me. I don't like it. I don't want it. Anything about your personality or makeup that you do not like, it is not really you. It is a negative identity that's been activated, bringing back from the past whatever it was you buried under the carpet, whatever it was you swept under the rug. So that's the overview of the whole thing. And I'm going to go into it deeper now to really emphasize that and bring it to life and to show you how different it can be when we actually do something to deal with the source of these identities. Because most inverted commas solutions in the world aren't actually solving the source. Most are talking about the content. So, talking about, what are you thinking? How are you feeling? What happened? When did it happen? What did that make you think about yourself? Even to say, what do you want to do now? It's still all in the content. It's in all the storytelling. It's not actually dealing with that original subconscious decision about you as a person. Other solutions temporarily settle the whirlpool down. It's not wrong. It can be useful to an extent to get you back on an even keel, but it doesn't solve the source. So if you were, for example, to go for a walk every time you're feeling triggered in that way, yeah, it's going to settle the whirlpool down because your natural state is to come back into this area of flow to feel better and to pick up any positive identities you want to use in that moment. But most solutions, again, inverted commas solutions, are actually temporary soothing, temporary settling to drop you out of the whirlpools into the flow and out into the world, which, yes, feels better. But when you haven't dealt with the source of the trigger in the first place, you haven't dealt with the source of the whirlpool, then it is just going to keep showing up. It is just going to keep triggering. It is just going to keep happening, which is why some people talk about it as whack-a-mole. It's like, well, I dealt with it in that circumstance with those people over there, but having dealt with it there, it's now just popped up here. And so then I dealt with it here, but having dealt with it here, now it's just shown up over here with these people in this context. It's why people, yeah, they literally, it's a very common thing to go, it's like whack-a-mole. Every time I bop it down over somewhere else, it pops up here and then it's here. And that's exhausting. And it's endless until we deal with the actual root cause of it. So let's say a bit more about this, just to amplify what's going on here. So you can see the river's exactly the same. The unique, perfect you experiencing natural emotions, but before cleaning up these negative identities, there's a whole bunch of them there under the carpet, ready to be activated at any moment. Something vaguely reminds you of that original situation. Anything that goes vaguely near that trigger switch, it's going to activate that negative identity. And so that's why when people come, they say, why does this keep happening? They say, I know logically this makes no sense, but. And they'll say things like, my brain keeps doing this to me, my mind keeps doing this to me, my body keeps reacting in this way, and I cannot control it. I cannot stop it. Sometimes people have tried so many things. Sometimes they haven't. That's exactly why I'm sharing this here as the shortcut for you. If you want to avoid going round the houses with a whole bunch of things that ultimately lead you back here, if you're ready, just come straight here. You can save yourself a whole bunch of time going around a whole load of houses. If you want to go and check them out afterwards, it'll be a load easier and more fun. But this is, as I said before, the most effective, efficient, and precise solution I've ever found. And I say solution on purpose, permanent solution. So, given that these negative identities creating this feeling and experience that's unwanted, and living in that means that things look like a problem. As we said before, the world shows up as a function of who you are. So the minute you're in that negative identity, Now you're seeing the world through the eyes of that negative identity. It's like distorted lenses. And so things that could have been a little thing suddenly seem like a big thing. You've had that experience, right? I think everybody would say they've had that experience. And that after they'd settled down, i.e. the whirlpool settled down, after they'd had a sleep, i.e. the whirlpool settled down, then they felt clearer, then they could see it more openly. What we're doing is talking about the fact you can remove these whirlpools so you don't have to do the making a mountain out of a molehill and then saying it's a molehill. You get to just see it's a molehill and not get reactive about it. But what happens first, before we get to that point, when these negative identities are activated, the situations in life become like big problems. So the financials, boom, the team and their problems, like, oh my God, is that ever going to stop? Are they ever going to stop with the problems? The uncontrollable kids, whatever age they are, particularly toddlers and teenagers, are the best for showing themselves as the uncontrollable beings that they are, sometimes in the middle stage of that as well. And that feels like a pile of poop if you're in a negative identity, because you desperately try and take control and find that it's impossible and causes more reactions and more problems. The fallout from all of these have the potential for relationship problems. You get frustrated with your team and you snap, and then you have to repair that relationship. Or you perhaps don't react with your team in that moment, and then you carry it home, and then you react with your family, and then you feel guilty about that, and you have to repair that relationship. Or with the financials, and you react and you make a move too soon, or you miss an opportunity, or you make a bad decision because you were trying in narrow focus to protect yourself from what seemed like a terrible threat, and actually you've made a wrong decision and now it's made things worse. So whenever we're making moves, making decisions from within a negative identity, there's always more negative fallout. There's always more negative consequences on the back of it. It's like the after effect, the the ongoing negative ripples from acting as a negative identity. Unknowingly, of course, we would never choose this. It's exactly the point why people say, I get it logically. Why can't I do it? Why can't I act differently? Why can't I behave differently? I get it intellectually. Why can't I choose something else? Why am I not in control of this? It doesn't make sense to us. We know it's not logical. We know we're smarter than this. And yet, this thing just keeps happening. This problem keeps recurring. I keep behaving in this negative way. Why can't I do something different? And so that's why, from the perspective of a negative identity, down here in the world is now full of problems, issues, blame, judgment, overthinking, overwhelm, distraction, defensiveness, feeling not enough, not worthy, not lovable, and so many more. Stress, aggression, being protective over things which really don't need protecting, inability, I was trying to get the right word, the inability to collaborate, lack of compassion for others, lack of understanding, inability to listen and truly hear people. All of the problems in the world are a function of people in the experience of a negative identity, unknowingly in the experience of a negative identity. And that is why I am so passionate about more people realizing the true source of these problems and literally cleaning them out of their world. So let me go to the next slide. Because what the Mace Energy Method does is actually delete these negative identities out of your world. Delete, discreate, clean up, remove. You can use any language you want. It's all the same thing, represented here by a lot less. on the basis that the more you clean up, the fewer and fewer negative identities or resistances are existing in this area of your experience. Which means that this perfect, unique expression of you as a person shows up more and more and more naturally, more authentically, more integrity, more happiness, more light, more clarity, more openness, more ability to collaborate, more ability to challenge, more ability to clearly say yes or no to what's right for you. Being the perfect, unique expression of you does not mean walkover, does not mean lifeless blancmange in the corner, does not mean, yeah, and does not mean like at the whim of life. It's the complete opposite. When people are living as their unique expression, they are more in charge of their life. They are more empowered. They are more capable. They're more clear. They're more decisive because they're less cluttered. These negative identities create a lot of psychological and emotional clutter. And as I said before, they cause more problems in the world. So then, having had that emotional and psychological clutter, they then create clutter in your life. It's why many people find that on the back of this work, they start clearing out old contacts that are not relevant to their business anymore. They perhaps end things which have been lingering but really needed closing and ending. It's why people spring clean houses or inboxes or things that have just been needing to be done for so long. And in the absence of that inner clutter, it just starts to make sense to clean up in the outside world as well. Remember, I said the world's a function of who you're being in the moment. So the more you're being this perfect, unique expression of the real you, the more the world reflects that. And things get easier and simpler and clearer. And what that means is, as you flow downstream, you still experience emotions because that's natural, that's human. But because there are fewer negative identities, you get less triggered. The triggering is less frequent. So there's less occasions when that happens. And of course, when it does happen, you can continue to clean up more. And what that means is then, therefore, you're feeling your emotions, you continue flowing in life. There are still things to do with financials. There are still a team who may still have problems. They may not. You might find that people's problems start to decrease as you get clearer and cleaner. The kids are less of an issue now. You can actually enjoy being with your kids, enjoy that relationship and developing it and growing it. And so, yeah, more of the real you. Yes, of course, there are ups and downs in life. Of course, there are delights and disappointments. Of course, there are wins and lessons. That's what we're here for. That's part of the aliveness of life. We're not looking for a flat line. We're looking for a baseline of good feelings over which we experience the ups and downs of life. And that's exactly what this delivers. Because the baseline of good feelings is the uniqueness of you as a person all the way up here. When you're in the stability of that, the natural ups and downs of emotions and the natural ups and downs with life, businesses, families, is so much easier to navigate because you're standing in grounded clarity of that good feeling of who you really are up here. Less and less and less triggered, more and more and more good stuff in the world, all coming from a core good feeling in you, which is the real you up here, this perfect, unique expression of you as a person. And as I say, the more you clean up, the fewer whirlpools, the more flow, the more ease, the more grace, the more delight, and the more going for it. You know, how often have you heard people say that you need to keep failing and getting up and going again? It is exactly true. It is a huge learning process, this whole life experience. It doesn't stop at the point we leave school or college or university. Learning continues through all of life, which means that the same as we made mistakes and learned all the way up to that point, to the end of school, college, or university, we are designed to continue learning. which means we are designed to continue going for things, making mistakes, learning from it, going again. It is what so many entrepreneurs do so well. It's what so many high-end leaders do so well. And what's available is to do it from a baseline of enjoyment, from a baseline of good feelings, rather than from a baseline of negativity that was always coming from these negative identities. So rather than having to run away from thinking you're not good enough, you get to enjoy being you in your unique life, and you get to continue learning and growing and trying and failing and learning and achieving and succeeding and enjoying the delight of that, because that is what we're here for. So ultimately, what the goal of this work is not to it's not for you to stop feeling. It's not for you to somehow walk through life completely untouched and untouchable by anything. It's not for you to be like numb to the world, or in such a neutrality that you're like with everything that you meet and come across. I mean, you will likely find you get more and more of that. But if anything, most people through this work actually start to feel those natural flows of emotions more. You kind of relearn your emotional system and come to realize the wonders of enjoying a delight and enjoying celebrating a success. And you also get to be with yourself when there's a moment of disappointment, and you get to then connect and celebrate the warmth of being with your kids, your family, your pets. And you also get to enjoy the solitude and the alone time and the peace and the quiet without feeling like if you were to do that, you're going to spin out. So the goal is not to become 100% neutral all the time. The goal is to feel and be fully in life. It is what we're designed for. And so the goal is to be in this natural flow, to feel the groundedness of who you really are, and to then be in the natural flow of the natural waves of life. Life is naturally wave-like. It's naturally full of ups and downs. It's just how it is. And when you're grounded in the truth of you, the unique, perfect expression of the real you, then you get to navigate those natural waves with so much more ease, so much more clarity, so much more grace. That is the goal, because that is you living. That's you truly living, which is exactly why one of my clients came saying, I want to breathe life into life. When we've kept living, suppressing these negative identities, trying to avoid them, trying to stop triggering them, trying to not let them out from under the carpet, unknowingly, we've been spending so much of our valuable energy and attention doing that. Just, no, 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 stay under the carpet, stay under the carpet, stay under the carpet. And in doing that, in trying to hold those negative, unconsciously, subconsciously, unknowingly, hold those negative identities at bay, suppress them, avoid them, bury them, bury them, bury them, unknowingly, we've been spending so much of our time and energy and attention doing that, that we've not been living life. It's in fact that which causes a flat line, because we're so trying to numb ourselves so much from that negative stuff. We also then numb ourselves from the delights. We're actually designed to feel. So when we get to stop spending so much of our valuable time, energy, and attention suppressing this negativity, we then get to be ourselves in the world and feel. Sometimes in what feels like for the first time, we feel alive again. People report having more energy, more aliveness, more engagement with life, going for things that they'd been delaying or they'd never thought to go for, achieving things and enjoying them. And then, yes, going on to the next thing, but that valuable step of enjoying it first, which so often gets missed when you're a high achiever and a high performer who's running away from, I am not good enough, I am not capable enough, I am not worthy enough. So I really hope this has given you a sense. Let me stop sharing. I really hope this has given you a sense of exactly why we experience problems as a human. The source of those problems, it's not the thought, it's not really the feeling, it's not the behavior, it's the origin, that trigger, that negative identity, which creates that package deal. All those thoughts, feelings, and behaviors come in as a package deal. Inevitably, they create an experience of the world which causes more problems and more issues, which needs more rectifying later on. That's the true source. The Mace Energy Method deletes that true source of these problems out of your world permanently, so that increasingly, 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 the world gets easier, nicer, more enjoyable, more engaging. Yes, ups and downs, but we wouldn't want to be without that. We would not want to be without that. One of the greatest fears, in fact, will I become like a robot? Will I stop being human? No. You'll become more human. You'll be more connected to yourself and others. You'll be in closer relationship with the people that matter. You'll be more engaged in your work, with your team, with any stakeholders. You'll see things so much more clearly. You'll make smarter moves. You'll make better decisions. Most likely, you'll be tapping into your intuition with a whole another level. It only gets better when there's more of the real you and less of the negative identities. So, on the back of this, drop me any questions, anything you want to have explained, anything that this has had you realize. So, very often when we have these kind of conversations, it starts to put your attention on, oh, well, that's happening. Is that this? Oh, and that keeps happening. Is that this? So, to give you a starting point with that and the really for life navigation system, if anything feels negative, if anything's bugging you, if anything's dragging you down, if anything's bothering you, it is a negative identity or a negative feeling that's causing that problem. It is a whirlpool that's causing that problem. And you do not have to keep living with it. The Mace Energy Method deletes that whirlpool out of your world. Gone. We do it fast. It's a very simple process. I guide you through the whole thing step by step. It requires no special skills, knowledge, or attributes. It requires you to be a human being who has a problem that you want to solve. And the promise of your first sessions, which are called your foundations, the promise of that is that we solve the problem that you come in with. Guaranteed. And we will work together until that is true. For most people, that is the program as it is set. Sometimes people need some extra time. That's totally okay. And we do that because that is the promise of the foundations. Then you also get a load of side benefits because through that foundations process, we delete a whole bunch of negative identities. Something within there which does solve the problem you came with. But because we delete some of the most foundational negative identities in your world, you get a whole bunch of side benefits. You get a whole bunch of other positive ripple effects. And then after that, that continues to be your navigation system. Does it feel good? Amazing. That's the feeling of the real me. Even if there's disappointment, even if I didn't get that deal, even if my kid fell over, even if I didn't get to, I don't know, I didn't get to that event that I really wanted to go to. Even with all of that, we can feel all those feelings and feel okay about all those feelings. Great, carry on with life. But if anything else negative comes up, if anything else keeps getting your attention and won't leave you alone, if anything else drags you down, if anything else keeps bothering you again and again and again and nothing is helping it, Again, it's a negative identity. You do not have to live with it, and it does not take long to clean that up and delete that out with the Mace Energy Method process. So that is your, if you'd like it, your navigation system as you move forward from here. You might already, as I say, you might already have got your awareness onto, so that thing, that is caused by a negative identity. Yeah, if it feels bad, if it's dragging you down, if it's bugging you, if it feels negative, if it's horrible in any way, unwanted in any way, then yes, that's something that we can absolutely deal with this process. If you're sitting here thinking, I'm not sure there is anything, then I guarantee that from this conversation, your attention will be brought to something. It's how we're designed. Your attention will naturally spot or notice anything in your life that perhaps you hadn't realized before. But now on the back of this conversation, you'll be like, I think that's one of those things. That thing that I'd been trying to look positively on, that I'd been trying to keep calm and carry on, actually, that is a problem. That has been bugging me, that has been getting me down, that has been irritating me. Perfect. It's exactly the kind of thing to bring to this process. And if you don't spot anything, then amazing. I hope you've enjoyed the video and have a great life. But to be honest, you know, how many humans do you know who didn't get upset at some point as a small child? I don't know anybody. Everybody who's been upset will have something that can be cleaned up through this process. Doesn't make you a bad person, just makes you a person. It's just what happens in a human life. So anything that's got your attention from this conversation or anything that gets your attention in the coming days or weeks, remember this, remember the river, remember what's actually going on, and remember that you do not have to keep living with it. You don't have to make do with just soothing it or settling it down. We can, together, you and me, delete it out of your world so that you become unaffected. That negative identity gone, situation no longer a problem. Just like we saw in that final slide. The people can still exist, the finances can still exist, the economy can still exist, the government can still exist. You don't have to be affected by it. You get to live your life in charge of your life, knowing everybody else is in charge of theirs. So, as I said before, please get in touch if there's anything you want to check. I will put the link below for booking in. So if you're ready to go straight ahead and get on with your foundations, I will put the link below. I can't wait to meet you and start moving through that process with you, getting you clean of that negativity that's preventing you from being more of the real you. Anything else, please get in touch. Very happy to help and get you exactly what you need. Take care. Thank you.